I've worked really hard not to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I told myself a lot that I wasn't going to get emotional. My wife said, well, you're only human. I know you don't think you are. And that's what human beings do, is they get emotional and they sometimes cry. Mr. President and members of this body, it has been the greatest joy of my life, outside of getting married and having children, which is to serve this body. It has been the greatest accomplishment to get people in my district, a district in where my grandfather bought a house over 100 years ago, to say that they would elect me to office. Much like Senator Simonson, I started out in the House 2008, and then when Senator Berglund decided to retire, I ran in a special, and you guys welcomed me with open arms. Mr. President and members, I have always tried to do the right thing. Sometimes it hasn't worked out. I've always tried to do it with integrity, and I've always tried to work on the people who don't have a voice. I always tried to work on the people who have the least among us, and I always tried to create opportunities for those folks to enjoy the greatness of this state and what it has to offer. Mr. President and members, as you know, my district is made up of white folks that have been there, but it also has a very heavy influence of African Americans, African immigrants, and much like that, it has a very large indigenous population, Little Earth being one of the largest indigenous housing developments in the country. It is diverse in terms of its economics. We have houses on Minnehaha Creek that are probably in the high six figures, and we have housing, HUD, Minneapolis Public Housing apartments that for low-income people that aren't wealthy, and everybody in between. And so I've always tried to listen to everybody, figure out what they needed, and then create opportunities for them. And Mr. President, you know, everybody has a season, and there's a time for you to get here. And I can remember being young, or not so young, but being new and running around here and not even know what a deadline is, and missed an opportunity to do something because I didn't know the deadlines. To then working through this body and through you guys, my caucus selected me as a leader, and now helping people understand what those mean and what the process means. Mr. President, I worked with you and all of you here and helped lead the first state's minimum wage in over a decade. I worked closely with my good friend and partner, Senator Champion, to produce an equity bill for those populations that aren't making it as well and as prosperous, and we've produced well over $100 million. I worked closely with all of my colleagues on healthcare, and though it was a bumpy ride with the exchange, and many of you were here, the healthcare exchange, I worked closely bipartisan and with the governor's office to create what we think is a nation-leading exchange program where people are getting healthcare all throughout the state because of it. And it is really meaningful because in the time of COVID and where people are losing their jobs, are getting sick, we can feel proud in Minnesota that we have a system that works. Mr. President, I also want to make sure that I don't get too far down the line by doing a few thank yous. First of all, my wife, Terry, and my two kids, Tomas and Sophia, that are my heart. You guys hear me talk about them all the time, and thank them for the many of days that I wasn't home, that I was here, that we were in the community or walking in a parade or whatever we had to do. Those days that I was a little tardy to the football or basketball game or missed out on a family celebration, they endured, and I just want to thank them publicly. I'm not going to go through too many names, but I can't not mention my partner, my buddy, the guy who I walked in the store with, Senator Bobby Joe Champion. Senator Champion and I have been lockstep, arm in arm with the same value sets to work hard for Minnesotans. So Bobby, Thank you for all of your friendship, your partnership, sometimes your counsel, and sometimes even your discipline. I really appreciate it. I have to also thank the other members of the Minneapolis delegation, Senator Torres, Senator Dibble, Senator Disick, oh my God, in terms of our ability to work as a team, not only as a team and part of our caucus, but really work hard as a team in Minneapolis that I think is some of the finest legislators I know. We don't always, we have the same value system. We may have different ways to get there, but in the end, we've always come together as a team and do not only what's best for Minneapolis, but also for the state. I too have to thank my good friend, Senator Bach. Tom mentored me, taught me a lot about a lot of things, negotiation certainly being one of them. I spent many hours with Tom helping to negotiate some of the biggest bills here. And many know that when we started, I didn't get elected as the assistant majority leader. Tom appointed me the deputy majority leader to serve along with former leader Sieben. And then the next cycle, I was elected. And so thank you, Tom, for your confidence in me. There has never been a time in which you didn't pick up the phone, or never a time that you didn't support me. I want to thank the LAs that I've had throughout the years, and in particular, we have some, some in the interim. But back in the House, I developed a really great relationship with a good friend of mine by the name of Liz Mandelman, who really, who went on to Washington to work, but was really smart and organized, and kept me organized. Of course, you guys know the one that's been with me a lot, Liz Young. Liz was with me for 5 years, and she pretty much kept me going, and a lot of my success goes to her. Elaine Island was with me when Liz left. Natalia Madrea was with me during those times. And then also my current LA, and many of you know her, Indiria Falana. Indiria has been a star. This is the first job that she had out of college, and I think all of us can say that she hit the ground running. If it wasn't for all of them finding my iPad or figuring out where I left the bill, or making sure that I brought in the proclamation today, Indiria has been phenomenal, and hopefully you guys will see fit to keep her around. Members, this has been a tough year, not just because we didn't lose the election, but as you know, we've just had the conversation about COVID-19 and the way that it has ravaged our communities, especially in communities of color. But we also now are in the situation in which we're dealing with the aftermath of the killing of George Floyd. Members, as you guys know, that happened 8 blocks from my house. And everything that you saw was in Senate District, most of it in Senate District 62, the bulk of it, a lot, Senator Torres, Senator Champion, Senator Pappas, but a lot of that happened. Even the homeless encampment in Powderhorn Park is in the middle of our district. So we spent a lot of time trying to figure this out. And I want to thank my colleagues in this body for the law enforcement reform that we were able to get. We feel like we need to do more, but this certainly was a first step, and I know that wasn't, it was risky for some members of this body to vote for this, but I want them to say thank you. Members, these issues are real. I told you before that when I learned how to cross the street, the next thing my mother taught me was how to interact with the police. So we got to take this seriously. We got to recognize that we all have different lived experiences, that we are not all treated equal. We think that we want to be. I know that that's what people want, but we're not. And so when I leave, or I won't be back next year, you might see me hanging around maybe just because I might want to follow some things, but I certainly won't have the opportunity to pick up this microphone. I would hope that we would continue to move forward on law enforcement reform and do more to protect people's lives and to make sure people are protected. I would hope that that bill that Senator Champion passed here 3 years ago, 3 times in a row, 2 bills in particular, one on driver's license for all, and voter rights restoration. I would hope that we would help Senator Champion next year get that over the line. There's far too many people that are being victimized because they don't have their rights. Far too many people who have made a mistake in their life, and we put a scarlet letter on them. So I would hope that we would pass those bills. I know that there'll be new ideas and new bills, new thoughts, but I would hope that we would pick up some of those off the table. Remember, one bill that's really close to me, and a big shout out to my family, my parents, Peter and Joyce, and my mother, Judith, is the Taylor Hayden Memorial Bill. The Taylor Hayden Bill to prevent violence. As you know, 4 years ago, my sister was killed in Atlanta, Georgia by a stray bullet of people who were shooting indiscriminately. She was a graduate of Wayzata High School and a proud graduate of Prairie A&M University, and was just starting her career, and it was cut tragically short. Members, I know we have these bills about gun ownership and the Second Amendment. This has nothing to do with that. This has something to say that we should get out to our young people and help them think about the choices that they make, and hopefully they'll make better choices so that we won't have more Taylors. I would hope that we could work together, and if it's not called the Taylor Bill, but call it whatever we want. But members, we can no longer kind of have these partisan bickering arguments about gun violence in our community. If it can happen to my family, it can happen to yours. So members, once again, it's hard to put this microphone down one last time. So I'm not going to be as long as Dick, but I will just say, my father said this to me not long ago when I was commiserating. He said, you know, he doesn't wake up anymore asking God why. He doesn't wake up anymore asking God to do something for him. He just says thank you. He just says thank you. So, members, I would like to say to all my good friends, Leader Kent, who has always been supportive of us and the work that we're doing, I would just want to give you a heartfelt thank you for allowing me to be part of this body. Thank you, Mr. President.